Hi, everyone. It's Johnny Enoch here, and I want to talk to you all today about the mysteries of consciousness and the soul. But first, I'm going to give you some updates about what's been happening and what we have coming up that's very exciting. I just got back over to North America. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, in my office. Of course, I live most of the time in Budapest, Hungary, but we've been so busy traveling, not only in Hungary, Greece, doing conferences over in the UK. We just finished the Awakenings conference in Blackpool. And if any of you were there, it was so awesome. Really great. We had Giorgio there, Eric Van Doniken. We had Billy Carson, so many amazing people coming together, and just the attention to detail in this conference, the large Egyptian statues. It was so much fun. And of course, I have a brand new website, thanks to Jujana. It is called johnnyenoch.com. Go to JONNYENOCH. Please do sign up. You'll get newsletters. We're going to give a lot of updates and interesting new information about what's happening in the forbidden world of archaeology, the mysteries, and more. And when I got back here to my office, I had some wonderful surprises waiting. Thank you so much for the things that people have been sending me. I have a book that arrived here called The Diaries of Lady Anne. And this is really interesting. It's by our friend Anne Celine. And she wrote all about the difference between the supernatural and the preternatural. And of course, in the back here, it talks about Thomas Aquinas, the Catholic priest from the 13th century, who was talking about how these various events that we witness in our lives, how they had these kind of behind the scene looks at the universe and the acts of God and how rare they are. And these are a lot of her own personal stories. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this. Be sure to check out her work. And I know that she does some wonderful looks at Ireland and whatnot. She just got back with Mike Ricksecker on a tour that they were doing. I have also here a newly edition published version of a book by our friend Jason Quitt. And this is Egyptian Postures of Power. And this is sort of like the ancient Qigong of the Egyptians and moving energy. And Muhammad Ibrahim has been pointing this out to me for years, that we have that depicted on the walls. Of course, I'm on the back here. There's a blurb by me on Jason's book. He sent me some extras I can give away to you guys. So if you're a subscriber at johnnyenoch.com, I will send out some copies to those of you out there. We'll have a draw at the end of the month, and we will give away some copies. But this is an amazing, amazing book. It's incredible, filled with illustrations and ancient Egyptian knowledge with a lot of great insights. And I truly believe Jason Quitt was one of those people who's had a past life in Egypt, just as many of you have had a past life in Egypt. And speaking of which, we do have an upcoming tour in Egypt that you can join us with. We have the Initiation into the Mysteries of Egypt tour coming up. It's available at sabatours.com. And that is going to be March 16th to the 27th, 2023. And it features not only myself and Shoshana, but also, of course, we have Timothy Hogan, who is a renowned esoteric expert. We have Professor Hank Kracher, who is an esoteric as well as a historian. We have Karim Okusa from Pythagoras, the mathematician. Paul Elder from the Monroe Institute, teaching remote viewing. We have Muhammad Ibrahim, world-renowned expert in hieroglyphics and Egyptology and all those incredible subjects. This tour is amazing. We have private permissions, a Nile cruise, initiations. So many amazing things are going to happen on this tour. You don't want to miss it. If you can make it in March of 2023, join us by going over to sabatours.com. And lastly, of course, I also want to give a shout out to my dear friends, Michelle, who is over at Light the Light Pyramids. She's always hooking me up with these beautiful pieces from her site that she makes, these Orgone pyramids. Of course, we travel with them. We keep them in the office and nearby, as well as Simone. Check out her site and make sure that if you are looking for an Orgone pyramid, or you're interested in pyramidal technology and how it works, do check out Light the Light Pyramids. But what I want to talk to you all today about is the mysteries of the soul, the mysteries of consciousness. We have a lot of talk right now in the news about people like Elon Musk and our great thinkers and technocrats that believe that consciousness is created in the brain. They believe that there's enough evidence to say that we could download a version of you into a computer or store a version of you, and this is a good enough representation based on your memories. In fact, we even have businesses now that will allow you to have an interview, and then they will take a version of you and map it out, and they will hook you up to an AI so that a holographic version of you could interact with people at a funeral that is predicting things about you. And I do believe that Facebook and others in the future will do this based on your interactions and your memories and your timeline. We will be able to do that, and we can do that. We can actually download a version of your memories. But point in fact, I believe that one day this will be somewhat of a holographic or interactive memory. And it is not the same as trying to download your consciousness, which I do believe will be possible one day and is the holy grail of this particular pursuit. Traditionally, we have talked about the ideas of there being something known as quantum consciousness theory. And this is what we would get out of the works of Penrose and Hameroff. And what was recently quite controversial is that Catalina Corsuno in Italy had recently disputed these findings that the quantum consciousness theories put forward, that your consciousness, which is held together through quantum cohesion or like a quantum entanglement, was able to interact with your brain through these microtubules, and it was acting like a cockpit. Of course, we do know traditionally that through our electromagnetic field that these subtle influences would work upon the brain like an instrument. But I don't believe that consciousness is local. I believe it's a non-local awareness. And I also think that based on the models that we saw from ORC or quantum consciousness theories that Penrose and Hameroff put forth, I believe they were correct, and that the recently debunked version of these theories based on these experiments in quantum gravitational waves, I believe that they will be vindicated when we explore more complex models of this. And how we can explain this is that in these theories, they said that quantum consciousness, we would explore that through the idea that your consciousness works through anharmonic vibrations, kind of like what you get with the sitar of Indian music. And we really start to look at that with EEG scans, that there is a unique song that each of us has with our brainwaves and with who we are. And one day I believe that we'll be able to triangulate that. And this will be like an IP address that's unique to you on a quantum communications network. And what I believe this will be like is sort of like when we look at the biorhythms that each of us has. It's been explained to me even that there are certain defense technologies that can form an electromagnetic shield, like a force field around something, but not only will it repel weapons or things trying to intrude on it, however, if a bird or something wants to fly through that area, it would be able to, due to the fact that it would be able to identify the biorhythms of the bird. Well, I believe this is the same way that your consciousness works. And when we explore this theory more closely, we start to get into our Eastern theosophy, or even what Manly P. Hall was talking about in his earlier writings, is that right now, we're sort of working like one of those old Slavic dolls where there's layers within layers within layers of us. You know, traditionally we're told we have a mental body, an emotional body. And in our old esoteric teachings, we get this concept of the magician standing in the circle. Well, this circle that you're repelling these so-called demons, which are like our negative thoughts, these are the circles of consciousness. That's where the true power is. And how this tends to work when we go and we look at the stories from our near-death experience survivors, or when we look over at the works of Dr. Michael Newton doing regressions into clinical hypnotherapy and past lives and the integration of our souls, is that when we come here and we're born into this world, we come out as a spirit encompassed within our soul body. And our soul body is a sum total of our experiences. And it's what's really distilling all of our experiences in this life. We form these layers of consciousness. We form the ego. We form a personality that's unique to you. So right now, the version of you that is watching this is not the permanent version of you. The permanent version of you is that awareness that's unique to you, your spark that's within you, that's distilling all these experiences. And when your experiences are done distilling, then the physical body will no longer be needed. It is your vehicle. But this name, this unique personality, your ego, all of these things you will carry with you up until the point of when you leave this world. So when you leave this world, even up to the point where you're doing what we call the life review, which maybe some of you are familiar with some of these things because I talked about it on the episode of Gaia's Mystery Teachings, where we looked at past lives. But when you do your life review and when you leave this body and you're still transferring over through this experience and processing it, you will still hold on to that personality and the ego for a little bit more until you shed it. And then no longer will you identify with this body, the experience, your name. You'll know that that was an experience you had, but literally none of it is really going to bother you, because everything in this world is for your amusement. It's for your entertainment. It is for you to grow and evolve. It is here for our greater learning. And so how you can look at this is that when we talk about people saying that they were thinking about an old relative that passed away, and they're wondering if our relatives watch us and check on us now and then. Of course they do. But if you've ever been to the spirit side, such as my dear friend Garnet Schulhauser, he writes about in all his wonderful books, when you go over there, you see that we are these beautiful light beings, where we are pure energy. We can appear as whatever way we want, or even throughout any of the lifetimes that we've had. We have this, and the ancient Egyptians understood this very clearly. They had the Ba, the Ka, the Ak, the various levels of us. They understood that there's various layers of these energetic bodies that we have. But think about this. If I was a being of pure energy that resembled nothing like this body here, but I still had these unique awarenesses and a spark, not only do you realize that we are all connected to the one, and that we are all a part of this collective consciousness that's evolving itself, but really all these differences that we see in our world is an illusion. We live in a world of illusions. So when you see people out in the street, for example, they might appear different than you, or they might have a different religion or skin color, or they might like different things than you. Really, we all come from the same place, and we're all energy, and we all choose these experiences for a short while. So that's the illusion that we get stuck in for a while here. We might think that we're better than someone because we have a certain education, or we're from a certain place. Really, we're all coming at this at the same area, the same entry point, and we're evolving together. But when you think about these beings that are observing us, they don't think anything of it with our strange human habits. Somebody might worry, hey, that this spirit being or this entity from the other side could be watching me in the shower. It's not even a thing that crosses their radar, because they've all been human before. They've all had these sort of habits, and they've all had these sort of hardships and joys and things that it took to become human, but they no longer associate with necessarily having the human body or that experience. And once you come to the awareness of this, it's a very powerful realization. It's just like the old teaching of the circle and the dot, looking at the wholeness of the one. We are in this center position. And when we start to practice self-discipline, when we start to not give in to the various appetites we might have that crave certain things, or we want material things, or we have a thirst for something, when we use discipline over that, we start to use soul power, and it starts to become even more powerful to our realization. And I believe this is at the core of the teachings of Buddhism and other traditions that talk about meditation and so many other things. But I truly believe that consciousness is the forefront of our future sciences. And really, where we're going to get to is bringing an understanding that there is a unique spark to us, that we can't quantify a thought. Thought cannot be quantified. I mean, we'd have to be tracing around millions of neurons firing up, but there's no memory storage or hard drive in this world that's capable of holding all your thoughts you've ever had. We could maybe download memories, we could download characteristics of us, but what we might understand one day is we will learn about something called the transpositioning of consciousness. If you could triangulate that unique song of your consciousness and uniquely find a way to transfer it, you could transfer it in theory to another body, or we could understand that perhaps when we go further into quantum computing. But there is so much more there to look at about who we are, how powerful, how unique we are, what is a soul, what is your awareness, and where we all come from. I want to thank you all for listening to this video today. And please do subscribe to johnnyenoch.com. Check out our newsletters and our announcements for what's coming up. I also have a great interview that you can check out this week with Timothy Hogan, my dear friend and brother, who's a Grand Master of the Knights Templars. And I'll see you all soon.